She told me, on our third date, that she was going to conquer the galaxy. I told her I'd help. She laughed. That low, resonant hum that vibrated somewhere behind my sternum. 7 feet of violet-scaled perfection for iridescent eyes catching the light of a binary sunset, and she laughed at me. At us. Like the idea of a single human being useful in galactic conquest was the funniest thing she'd heard in her 300 years of life. I should have been offended. Instead, I asked her to pass the wine. Her name was Vel'sharath Onn-Kaida, warlord heir of the Kaida Dominion, breaker of the 7th Siege, and the only person in 2 star systems who could look at me like I was simultaneously the most baffling and most interesting thing she'd ever encountered. I called her Vel. She pretended to hate it. She didn't hate it. Here's what you need to understand about the Kaida Dominion. It was powerful, old, and bleeding out. Vel's people had held dominion over 37 star systems for 6 centuries. But empires rot from the inside, and the Kaida were no different. Fractured noble houses. Supply lines stretched thin. 3 rival warlords circling like sharks who'd smelled something dying in the water. The other galactic powers, the Vreth Collective, the Scifi Confederation, the Pale Conclave, they were watching. Waiting. Taking bets on which scavenger would pick the Dominion's bones first. Vel had inherited a throne that was on fire. And I had shown up, a human xenobiologist on a research posting, who made her laugh and fixed her ship's water recycler with a piece of chewing gum and a prayer. She said I was chaos wrapped in soft tissue. I chose to take it as a compliment. The first warlord to move against her was a creature called Drath Velsorn. 8-limbed, calculating. The kind of being who'd spent decades modeling every possible outcome of every possible conflict. His strategists had run 10,000 simulations. In every single one, the Kaida Dominion fell within 6 months. He was not wrong to be confident. He had not modeled for me. Vel's advisors wanted to fortify, pull back, defend the core systems, and negotiate from a position of managed retreat. I sat in that war room, the only human in a chair 2 sizes too big for me, surrounded by beings who could crush me with one hand, and I listened to them talk themselves in a slow defeat. Then I stood up and suggested we steal his flagship. Silence. Vel looked at me. All 4 eyes. That expression I'd come to recognize. The one that meant you were insane and I am intrigued. The Ascendant Throne, I said, pointing at the holographic display. His personal command ship. It's also his symbol. Every soldier under him serves Drath because of what that ship represents. So we take it, not destroy it. Take it. We fly it back under Kaida colors. His army doesn't fight for a cause. They fight for a flag. We steal the flag. That is, said General Orith Sin slowly, tactically deranged. Yes, I agreed. Vel said nothing for a long moment. Then she smiled, the sharp, dangerous smile that showed the 2nd row of teeth. Planet, she said. I want to be clear. I am not a soldier. I'm not a spy. I have no formal military training whatsoever. I once got lost in an IKEA for 4 hours and had to be escorted out by staff. What I am is stubborn, creative under pressure, and completely unconcerned with what is supposed to be possible. We infiltrated the Ascendant Throne with 12 of Vel's elite, the Kaida Fong, they were called. Terrifying warriors. Absoluta professionals. They had a plan. I immediately broke the plan within 6 minutes when I accidentally triggered a maintenance alert by leaning on the wrong panel. What followed was 17 minutes of pure improvisation. 3 explosions I did not technically intend. 1 cultural misunderstanding that resulted in Drath's second-in-command joining our side because I accidentally challenged him to a dominance ritual, and 1 by standing completely still out of confused terror. In 1 very tense moment where I rewired a blast door using the emergency protocol I'd read about once in a technical manual I hadn't even been supposed to have access to. We got the ship. We flew it home under Kaida colors. Drath's army fractured within 48 hours. Vel kissed me in the hangar bay, in front of the entire Kaida Fong, with absolutely no warning. It was, objectively, the best moment of my life. The second challenge was the Vreth Collective. They didn't want war. They wanted leverage. Centuries of careful political maneuvering had made them the galaxy's great power brokers. They had a hand in everything and owned nothing outright, which meant they were never a target and always a threat. Vel's advisors said, negotiate carefully. Give ground slowly. Don't antagonize them. I'd spent enough time with Vel by now to know that negotiate carefully was just another way of saying lose slowly. So I went to the Vreth summit. Alone. Vel found out 20 minutes before my shuttle docked and spent the entire approach screaming at me over comms in 3 languages, 2 of which I didn't speak. I could tell by her tone that at least one of them contained threats I probably deserved. The Vreth negotiators were brilliant. Precise. They had every counter to every argument Vel's diplomats had ever prepared. What they did not have was a counter to a human who had absolutely nothing to lose, no political training, and an almost pathological inability to accept a bad deal. I talked to them for 6 hours. I told them the truth, which, apparently, no one had done in living memory. I told them that Vel was going to win, that the other warlords were falling, and that when the Kaida Dominion finished consolidating, it was going to remember who helped and who stalled. I told them that humans had a saying, you don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun the person next to you. I told them the Pale Conclave was already sending quiet signals to Vel's court, and that if the Vreth didn't move first, they'd be the ones left behind. I made half of that last part up. They didn't know that. The Vreth Collective signed a mutual recognition treaty with the Kaida Dominion 3 days later. Vel didn't speak to me for 12 hours when I got back. Then she cooked me dinner, an elaborate Kaida dish that took 6 hours to prepare, and said, quietly, that she had never met anyone who terrified her as much as I did. I told her the feeling was mutual. She threw a pillow at me. The third warlord. The Pale Conclave. The dozen smaller skirmishes, border disputes, and political fires in between. I won't tell you I figured them all out. I didn't. There were nights where the plans fell apart completely, where we lost ships and soldiers and ground we'd fought hard to take. There were nights where Vel sat in the dark of our quarters, and I sat beside her, and neither of us said anything, because sometimes there's nothing to say. Those nights mattered too, because here's the thing about galactic conquest that the epics leave out. It's not won in a single glorious battle. It's won in 1,000 small moments. A stolen flagship, an honest conversation, a stubborn refusal to accept the terms of your own defeat. It's won by people, and yes, I'll use that word loosely, who refuse to let the people they love lose. Vel'sharath Onn-Kaida was crowned Empress of a unified Kaida Dominion on a Tuesday by the Galactic Standard Calendar. She stood on a dais in the Grand Court of Onn-Kaida Prime, draped in black and gold, surrounded by the representatives of 44 star systems who had bent the knee or signed the treaty or simply decided that fighting her was more trouble than it was worth. She was, without question, the most powerful being in the known galaxy. And she reached down from that dais in front of everyone and took my hand. You know, she said, low enough that only I could hear, when I told you I was going to conquer the galaxy, I did not actually expect you to help. I know, I said. You were supposed to be intimidated. I know. You are the most chaotic, irrational, reckless being I have ever encountered in 3 centuries of life. I know, I said. You love it. All 4 eyes. That look. Then that smile. The real one, the one she didn't show anyone else. Yes, she said. Ido. She wanted the galaxy. I just didn't want to lose her. Funny how those 2 things turn out to be the same.